A presentation on the joys of MythTV, which allows you to build a sort of a TiVo-like device using your Linux computer. So let's give them a nice welcome. So we're going to switch to our mode here. Use our slideshow mode. All right. So what is MythTV? Anyone here actually have one of these or built one of these? One of the best two. We're here for the refresher. It's a community project that runs on many Linux distributions. It was created by a guy named Richards who got tired of waiting for the mythical convergence of TV, web, and computers, and thus the name, and started about 4 years ago. What it can do, it's basically everything a TiVo can do, plus. So you can pause, you can do 30-second skips, you can fast forward, you can record, rewind live, record a TV. It can use multiple capture cards, so people have built boxes with up to 16 inputs that will record all simultaneously. You can edit recordings. You can also, after you're editing the recordings, you can losslessly transcode them. So if you want to sit there and keep a collection of all the shows you ever wanted of a particular series, it's not on a DVD yet, it's on TV, you can actually go in and edit the commercials out and not lose any of the quality of the actual recording. And then you can also create DVDs of those recordings. It's also capable of, what it will do is it can run a process behind your recording and find where all the commercials are, and then automatically skip them during playback. This works reasonably well. It was also, you saw in some of the VCRs at the end of the VCR period, they had commercial skip. This is a similar technology. One of the nice things it can also do is you can actually speed up recordings on playback to keep the tonal quality the same. So for all those talking head shows, where the guys, it goes on for half hour, you can speed them up like 25% and they still sound right, the guy's talking quite fast. You can also transcode all your recordings in other formats. So, for instance, you can transcode it in MPEG 2 into MPEG 4. You can also transcode it into other entirely different formats via some optional programs. Okay, front end is back end as well. MythTV is actually designed so each of the components is separate. The box we have here tonight is actually a combination of front end and back end that serves both purposes. It both records the shows and presents them, which means that it's all in one box. Backends, what people do is they'll put, if you have a bunch of old computers lying around, you can use very low-powered machines and then place basically TV capture cards in them and have them just sit back and record, and then they sit on your network and you can use front ends to play them back. You can use multiple servers, each with multiple cards in them, and you can have multiple back ends and front ends in the same network, so basically everything sees everything. Talking about clients, front ends, any buttons about anything, and there are also alternative disks. You can use old Xboxes, not the 360s, but the old ones. Actually make great front ends for standard TV. And they also can do something. There's also a product by Hong that called the Media MMP you can get for about $80, and it will play back the MPEG 2s. But if you have other file formats you want to play back, it doesn't work for those. Backend, you can do all the tricks you would do with Linux. So if you want to sit there and buy a bunch of cheap disks and LVM them, make them look big, you want to do RAID, you want to do NFS, you want to use the various file systems and optimize. For instance, this box is actually using XFS for the video store because one of the biggest penalties is when it wants to delete a video file that is gigabytes in size, it takes quite a while. So XFS is a very fast delete. That turns out to be a big advantage. The other thing that people do with these is that they use backends as slaves. So one of the problems when you're talking about high def is you can never get quite enough horsepower to the viewing portion of it. One of the ways you get around that is by basically parsing out the job to take a lot of work to something else that is not being used in the viewer. So things like transcoding. Some people are actually trying to do transcoding of high def down into MPEG 4 and finding that it takes 6 hours to transcode 1 hour of high def into anything. And so the way of getting around that is throw more power at it. And the other expensive one is scanning for commercials. You can use pretty much anything that TV for Linux will support. However, if you're going to use something that's quiet like this, that's low powered, you're going to want to use an MPEG hardware card. You can encode the hardware. It's pretty much the only way to do it. All the HD TV cards also basically just bullet digital bits onto the disk, so they don't consume very much horsepower either. But playing back is where it hurts. You can also, the TV has the ability to control a variety of different set-top boxes. Everyone's figured out how to control DirecTV, figured out how to control Dish. You can also control via FireWire some of the newer cable boxes. Okay, the program data is free in North America. It's provided by Zaptuit.com. It's actually a division of Tribune News Services. It's actually where Replay gets their data. I know because I have it on Replay and it's identical. You basically get listings, and the only thing you have to do is basically they ask you to fill out a survey every 3 months, like, will you ever buy IPTV, stuff online, will you support digital restrictions management, things like that. Fill it out however you want, and they give you access for another 3 months. You get 2 weeks and the boxes are programmed basically to wake up randomly sometime during each day and pull down the data from them. Then all of that data is gathered up and it's actually stuck in a MySQL database. There are a number of other standard plugins that come with Myth in the standard configuration. One is the picture viewing application, a basic video viewer, which is you just basically take any AVI file, throw it on the disk, and you'll probably be able to read it. You can read almost every Windows Media format file now also, except the last version, because MPlayer supports that. MythTV will actually, if you have an encrypted DVD, will suck the DVD into the machine and allow you to actually either transcode it into a smaller format or otherwise manipulate it. MythMusic, which is what you heard when you were coming in, basically lets you take any CD you have, stick it in it, and play it. You can also obviously add other MP3s or anything else you have and put it on the machine. This game is something I have not played with, but apparently, if you've heard of the main project, that's where you can basically take ROMs off of old stand-up video arcade machines. Basically, this will play them. MythWeather is basically just a simple weather retrieval. I can't really show it to you. Basically, what it does, it gives you your current temperature, it gives you a 3-day forecast, and it also gives you a loop of the satellite view of your region. Myth News is an RSS newsfeed, good for newspapers, like you want to read the Chronicles of on. Yeah.
One thing I use Aggregator for RSS feeds is actually like Daily Show videos. Comedy Central puts up Daily Show videos, and you can see when there's new ones, and then actually in Aggregator watch in an embedded viewer. Can you do something like that with Myth News, or would you have to?
It's not capable. Myth as it is currently constructed does not know how to get content other than basically web pages.
Okay.
I mean, yes, somebody's done it.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much. What I'm saying, I'm kind of staying on what comes out of the box.
Okay.
What you can do, yes, you can do that.
Okay.
You can run anything that runs on Linux will run on this. All right. So you may have to jump over to the corner and run X Windows and fire something up in the corner, or you might have to write a script and attach it to a menu button, but it will do it. This browser is basically a web browser. It's Conqueror based. I replaced it with Firefox. MythPhone is the SIP-based VoIP. That's actually in here also. And it'll actually do video conferencing, but it's a fair amount of work to set up. And this box didn't really have the horsepower to do it anyway. So what's there is actually included in the base distribution.
Excuse me?
Over here.
Over here.
What is SIP?
SIP, Session Initiation Protocol. It's the standard used for voice over IP on the internet, except for Skype. And Skype was all by themselves. But everything, basically every commercial voice over IP product that I know of in the last 10 years has been SIP compatible. Systems like Project Gizmo, which is use SIP, and they're offering the same deal that Skype is now, which is free outbound calling everywhere. So it's similar to that. MythWeb is basically a web interface into your box. So if you have an internet connection, you can basically control pretty much almost everything on the box. You have access to all your music. You actually can download and play your videos, either completely, and there's also an edition where you can actually stream the videos. So there are people who are actually streaming videos from their Myth boxes to their Treo 700s and other time-wasting and what I consider expensive things, given that you have to pay for the bits. But you can do that. And the advantage of this, unlike Replay had a schedule and TiVo's added one, is that when you make a change, it occurs immediately in the system, and you actually can actually watch how it's going to reorder your requests and upcoming recordings in real time and find out what's going to happen if you make a change. Okay, there's some of the unofficial plugins. MythTV, you got a TiVo that has an IP connection, you can play that content back through a front end and some front end. MythMail, email cloud. MythTV basically lets you convert your MythTV recordings into the MPEG-4 and also reduce frame size. That's actually recording in Myth. All they did is they wrote a little script around all the stuff that's already inside of the product. MythStream that lets you do streaming. There's two things. One is MythStream TV, that's outflow. So when you can play to a device or something remote. MythStream, it's kind of not all there, but basically it lets you listen to online radio broadcasts. You can also pull down video podcasts. Right. MythTV is built on top of all kinds of stuff. As I call it stone soup computing. One of the problems is that all of these different projects are being produced and worked on at various rates. So building these things gets to be a bit troublesome if you sit there and say, I'm going to start off with Mandriva and I'm going to build MythTV on it, or I'm going to start with this, whatever distribution you start with, or even Ubuntu. If I start there, I then have to go and find all the pieces that are missing and then all the dependencies that occur, particularly if you're using the binaries. So the guys that have the most fun and seem to have the most success are the guys that are running Gen 2, because they're all running from source, and they're always on the leading edge. But there is a way of solving that problem, and that is there is basically a standalone distribution that does nothing but do MythTV. What I like to say is that it's a project on a product, so you can't expect to take it out of the box, plug the parts together, turn on the power, and have it work. You get, it's one of those things where it mostly works, but then you end up having to fiddle with it. But once you get it done, then it runs solid. Like this box here has been running solidly for over a year. The only time it stopped working solidly was when I upgraded it, and then I had to fiddle with it for a year. Alright, so the solution is not Myth. It's a Debian-based, Optics derived, MythTV specific distribution with extras. And if you're lucky, it installs and reboots and it works. You won't get that lucky. But there's forums and support and all kinds of stuff there, and everyone's built these things. So there's a lot of information about how to do it. This box, when I did the last upgrade, I had to do like 2 small things to get it to work. Okay. All right, so what's this system? This is one of those $99 Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving, PCs you buy at Fry's.
Is it a great quality brand one?
It is a GQ3121.
Wait, how good is that, or is that?
Okay, that's a Sempron 2200. It's a 1.6 gig machine. It normally comes with 128 meg of RAM, a 40 gig hard drive, and a copy of Linspire.
That's what I read? I read Ubuntu, but it's the same box. Yeah,
it's the same. So the first thing you do is you take off Linspire. What I had to do is if you want TV out, you add an NVIDIA FX5200 card with 128 meg of RAM that gives you your S-Video out. It also has DVI. There are a variety of these cards on the market. You want to get one without a fan. Because all that's going to happen, if you have a fan, the fan's going to fail, the card's going to burn out, and that's going to be the end. So you have one with the heatsink. I got 512 meg of RAM. Actually, this has like a gig in it, but it doesn't make that much difference. 200 gig drive. One of those, another Fry's sale for a DVD rewrite for like $29.95. This RF wireless keyboard, this also goes on sale for $30. These are also available at Fry's. What's nice about them is they include the mouse and the keyboard, and as you can see, the handy handle. You can use remote controls with Myth. Actually, I've trained my household not to want them, so you can do more with this. And since everything throws around, it's handy. And with the mouse control, you can also add other products to it. So by adding other products, and I'll mention we have, for instance, we use Pandora to play back music to the stereo system. Well, I got to use Firefox, so I need a mouse. And that's not going to work with remote power. This particular system you're seeing here is not Myth released R5V7. They're now up to R5C7, which has minor changes on it. But everything is now based on MythTV. Right, this is the current version plus some fixes. There's a 0.20. Notice you can tell that they're approaching 1.0 really, really fast. Okay, there's the price. So Right now, if you identify in GQ3151, I saw last week it was on sale for $149.95. Right? It's now what is it? A Genode instead of a Sempron. FX5200 without a fan, that turned out to be $38. It's easier to get it. Price isn't carrying, so I had to go to anyway. RAM, all the other stuff, you can see basically what it is. And then the secret that makes this whole thing work is the most expensive item on the list, the PDR500 card that actually receives the channels and encodes them in hardware PEG2 and just splits them on the disk, which is what makes this whole thing work with this small amount of power without very much noise. Because that's doing almost all of the hard work.
But you said that there's another kind of card that's cheaper?
There is. You can get the single channel card. This is a 2-channel card. That means I can record 2 things at once. Okay? Yes. And I'm going to put it this way. For the difference in price, which was the single channel card is $70 and the dual channel is $138, I can afford the $138. And by the way, it stops the fighting when people want to see stuff. Okay? It's no longer, it's like you can record them both. Okay. So that's the job. I'm going to just talk about resolution on this. There's this whole screw with what's really nice about these cards. You can sit here and tweak this stuff to your heart's content. Basically, DVD resolution is 720 by 480. Classic Replay TV standard, which is their 1 gig per hour resolution, is 352 by 480. TVO high resolution gives you an idea where these are. This is the old video CD resolution. Just give you an idea of what the various resolutions are. 640 by 480 is typical 4.3. Most TVs now, they will work if you pump out. For instance, right now this display is pumping out a 600 by 800 display, but the NVIDIA is down converting, so that if I had it on a regular S-video connection, it would still work on most modern sets. But if you get the really, really cheap color TV 12-incher, it won't do that. You'll have to go to 640 by 480. But this gives you an idea of what's going on with that. This is an idea to give you an idea of what kind of quality you can expect. I don't know if you can see the sizes. Basically, this is 352 by 240. And what we're trying to tell you is, okay, here's the quality of the picture you're going to get versus the bit rate you're going to use. So when you select what you're going to record, you have a choice as to the bit rate, how much disk space you're going to consume. The easiest way to think about it is by per hour, but that's by second. And what it will do is, like, if you recorded about 2200 per hour, you will consume about 1 gig of disk space. So that's usually the one you're kind of shooting for. And what this gives you an idea of is, if you're running at 720 by 480, their optimum is, which is basically DVD quality, is you get 9 gigs out. The good news is you don't have to do that. This is what I do. I've actually managed to tweak this card and find firmware that let me basically do 720 by 480 resolution at a minimum bit rate of 2200 and a maximum of 6000. And so you put it on a talking head show or something where the background doesn't change, it consumes 1.2 gig. That's it, per hour. And if you haven't started doing action and stuff, then it can go up to 1.8, maybe up to 2. But it pretty much does it on its own. It's pretty smart about it. There are other trade-offs you get into, and there's also tweaks on the card where you can control dynamic noise reduction and video noise reduction. So, you know, when things move, or if I'm wearing this shirt on video and get herringbone, you can control those effects also. But usually what will happen is you'll sacrifice sharpness to correct for that. And so then what happens is you start raising your resolution, your bit rates to compensate for those problems. But I'm basically getting at least twice the resolution for the same amount of consumption I was getting with replay. Okay, for DVDs, I think you can create data DVDs or DVDs that can be played back instead of DVD players. There's a whole bunch of scripts, and there's also a way to do it from the web page interface where you basically can take any recording and it'll stick a menu on the front of it and add a little music on the front and basically let you create DVDs for your friends. If you record in the format that I just suggested with that resolution, you basically just copy the recording straight to the DVD and burn it, and it's playable. Which means you can basically put up to about 4 hours of actual video onto a single one-sided DVD that costs you 20 cents. Well, the problem is it takes a while. So the machine can't do anything else while it's burning DVDs. And that's the downside of using not so much power. It just doesn't have anything to do with anything else. Maybe we started. 50 is capable of recording CDs, and when you use FLAC, board lists, or MP3, it knows how to get. It does all the stuff everybody else does. Basically, it's the album artist, track info, maps the info, recorded data. You can also copy songs. You can turn this into a server. Obviously, it's a Linux box. You can use NFS or SNB and just drop stuff onto it. And so you can drop videos onto it or pull them off. You can do the same thing with pictures, and you can do the same thing with any of your music. Okay. All right. What about HTTP? Yes, it does it, but you need more power. And I've been doing some playing with this, and I already experimented using this as a test case. And the problem is, you can do it. It just costs you a bunch of more money to make it quiet, and right now it's going to cost you anyway because it's going to consume a lot more power. So your electric bill will be higher. There are cards right now where you can do over the air, and they're available for about $120. PC, HTTP, HT5100 is probably the most well known. And you can also use FireWire with cable boxes like the Motorola 6200, which is what Comcast has been using in this area. The only problem with it is that if you thought you were going to get to record all your HBO and all your other neat stuff, they're not going to let you do it. So it's not going to work. So the solution that people have been doing is you end up basically taking that PVR 500 card and using the FireWire to change the channels on the cable box, but actually record it using the analog card. Because you're not going to get anything else anymore. That's it, pretty much. Where you get more info.
What was that Miss Stream TV deal? So are you able to watch the program recorded on your home computer remotely?
Yep.
Can you watch live TV remotely?
Yes, supposedly I haven't tried it.
Can you change the channels remotely?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So
You
it's
basically do everything what the slim box can do.
yeah, so it's like a
Peninsula
Peninsula
box.
game.
How do you handle the sound card side of the process? Is the sound card a key player in the reproduction, or is it all video going out?
Well, okay, so
if you printed the audio by the TV
it
set.
goes out through the sound card. One of the bonuses of this particular machine, and I'm not sure about the current one they're selling, is it has an SPDIF out riser on the board. So you can actually plug it in straight to a digital SPDIF connection on your stereo and do 5-channel surround sound, and it understands that.
Now that's a digital signal coming out, not
Right.
It's not burdened with the hum and the noise of a conventional sound card interface.
Right. Well, I mean, most of like this motherboard has integrated AC97 sound on it.
Which
So-
Windows couldn't pick up, by the way. I put Windows on. I finally put Windows on my GQ box, and like it never figured out sound, which I thought was hilarious because everyone was like, "Oh, Linux sucks."
Okay. You say so.
Bring back those URLs, please.
Okay. You see that? Okay, I'll give you the demo here if I can get to put it up there. Give you back your URLs. One of the problems you run into with this kind of project is there's lots of people yakking about lots of different stuff. And boy, is it hard to figure out who knows what the hell they're talking about.
What are some ways to fit this blow past that? Because I got Slashshot had a big thing about this about a year and a half ago when I bought a video card,
Right.
and I kind of got mired down in a soup of kernel source code thingies and people on Debian telling me to go to hell. and I kind of left the card in my wife's Windows PC. And because I figured I'd been just kind of somebody that knew what they were doing, but could only do it for themselves, was praising it to the skies on Slashdot, and I didn't have enough hours to succeed in digging through the mystery of what you really had to handle.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, and that's one of the reasons I brought in a recipe. is because you just can't. None of this stuff works. It's like most of the hardware stuff associated with Linux. I mean, if it isn't in the distribution, odds are it's a pain in the butt to make it work. And one of the nice things about Myth is that they've gone out of their way to make more of the things work. But when it comes right down to it, even there, that way, there's like about really 3 or 4 guys that are really pounding on it hard enough, and so it ends up being what they have lying around.
It's oddball libraries that have to be looked and just the right places found by the compiler.
Exactly. Yeah, well, and that was what I was talking about. The problem is that it's stone soup computing. It's all these different pieces are coming from different places, and if you're not paying attention, there's no way you're going to know when you should grab that particular piece and what version of that you should use and not that one. And that's what's time consuming, is to find those things out. When I was talking about how I upgraded this, and then it didn't go south. What happened is the video quality went to hell, and the file sizes associated with the video quality rose by 66%. And I got to be the guy who goes, "What the hell is going on?" And everyone went, "You don't know." And so I had to figure it out. So,
So what was it?
It turned out that the firmware, one of the things that you get with the cards is there's a firmware, and the firmware that comes, that is being distributed with the MythTV project, doesn't work worth hell on a PDR 500. Well, it works, but it looks like crap. So, everybody got those now? So what I'll do is I'll show this stuff off with it. Actually, I might be able to just do.
We'll also put those links up on the website, so don't sweat it if you haven't had a chance to write them down.
What we can do.
Well, pardon me, are you going to link your, this is a great presentation, it was a nice little snapshot, are you going to link that from the site?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, it's kind of that. I mean, the problem is I didn't write notes on the slides, so I'm not sure how good they are in the context. Let's see if it's going to work.
And because putting one of these systems together is so problematic, your garage is open 7 nights a week.
I'm a consultant. I'm a consultant. I'm a consultant who's dumb enough to actually have to enjoy working on this stuff after it's done. This has high wife acceptance factor, so that's what they call it in the ABS form. Yeah.
Bring it back to the firmware problem you ran into. What would be the chance, and what was the process that helped you, figure out that was the problem, and what would be the chances of somebody else figuring it out? What are the prerequisites, I guess, in terms of knowledge?
25 years of experience working with Unix. It's the kind of thing. It's the kind of thing. It's like, okay, the first thing you do is say, "Does anyone else see this?" And you look for the easy way out. And then, when there isn't an easy way out, one of the things I do in my upgrades is I always reserve the previous copy. So I had a complete image of what I had before, so I could start to go through and see what was different. Now, admittedly, there was a good 6-month gap, so there was a large amount of difference. But it was reasonably easy to step through and figure out what was going on. It just took some time.
Has anyone sat down and on the net or wherever worked out a sort of an estimate of, depending on what you're trying to do, how much CPU power you need for doing this versus doing HTTP, how much bandwidth? I mean, when I hear you talking about 16 inputs, I have to wonder what computer and what kind of bus they had that they managed to actually be able to handle all that.
Yeah, there's actually a commercial product that comes with 8. And it's called the Dragon, and they use it as a reference platform. And so they actually have a motherboard that says, this motherboard, this and this and this. And if you buy exactly what they say, it'll work. But it'll cost you twice as much as it cost me.
Yeah, and PCI bus manages to handle all of this?
Yeah, because there isn't that. If you're using analog cards, and they're basically just scribbling in a little box. I mean, you're going to have a special box that has that much. But you can get easily 8 tenders in a single card, and it won't even notice.
Yeah, because I would think once you get to like PCI, you get to HTTP, you may be struggling to do PCI Express or something.
But then it's being done differently. You can do HTTP cards. All they have to do is basically get DMA access and scribble to the disk, and that's all they have to do. And if you have a box that has good channels for doing that, as almost all the 64-bit systems do now, and the ones that seem to work the best are the ones with the NVIDIA chipsets for both north and south range. So, and you get the NVIDIA 6100 series video out. It hasn't been a problem. But, using little GQs with the SIS chipset, it's not going to do it.
Well, what goes on is the TV card receives an analog TV signal,
Converts it to digital.
converts it to digital,
Scrolls it directly to disk.
runs it through an MPEG hardware compressor, then writes to disk. Because if
It's doing its own compression.
doesn't get compressed, then it breaks the machine.
It's just straight MPEG-2, straight to the disk, over DMA.
And that goes to the video card is understanding the MPEG-2 correctly, so that saves a lot of processing.
Yeah, the NVIDIA 5200 has a significant amount of built-in help. It doesn't fully decode it, but it decodes most of it. And the advantage of using this card also is that it also helps MPEG-4.
So do you need special drivers? Like, does it not permit thing to include that, or does it?
NVIDIA provides drivers for X Windows to support all that. So
there's an after you install that.
Yeah, it comes with Optimit actually, and they actually give you, because different drivers and have different plugs in them, you can pick which one of the 4 ones you want to use.
So on the playback side, the disk reads the file, which is in
And the NVIDIA does most of the work.
compressed. You shove it in the video card decompresses it and puts out the signal.
Right.
That's all.
Yep.
And it's easy on the computer when you have those 2 smart cards.
Yep. And that's why those 2 cards cost more than the computer. So we'll do some demo here. So this is your basic, what you come up on the screen. This is what you get with your recordings. As you can see, it shows you the video in the front.
Can you make it go up on the projector though?
I was trying to, it didn't want to sync. I'll try again, but I didn't like it.
Because we can't really see the driver in the back.
Earlier.
It didn't, well, if it syncs with the laptop, it won't sync with the.
It synced for a second, I think. Maybe you missed it.
Did you miss it? Sync. Go. So, example.
There it goes.
Okay, sorry. Alright, so this isn't very fair because we're projecting standard depth TV on a large monitor. So it's going to be fuzzy.
Now what's the bit format? Is this the 752 by 440?
This is 720. This is 740.
That's the program.
And it's, the limitation is from the original analog.
So, standard stuff, right? Pause, jump back, jump forward. But you also do things like this. Recording, load cut list of commercials that I know about. And then if I really want to have fun, you had play it at 1.15. We're talking head show, right? We're playing it fast. I tell it to begin transcode. So if I go back here and go to recording, I can pick my edit points, and I go back and I can tell the transcode. It will then re-encode that video without the commercials and then leave it back on the disk. And I can go back and then burn it to DVD or do whatever I want to with it later.
A question now. Okay, the audio for this display is coming from the
It's coming out of the sound card of the computer.
coming out of the sound card and receives the signal. It's not embedded in the television output.
It is embedded in the MPEG-2 stream.
Okay.
But we have drivers inside of the software inside of Myth that knows how to. That is a problem people keep having is with their sound cards. But I never had a problem with this one. I never had the same problem with this.
Can you route this video image out to a TV set and play the complete?
I play the audio.
Channel
I play the audio. I play the standard 2-channel through the stereo, or I can also do SPDIF to my stereo, and it'll play all the content, the sound that way.
The sound card is actually creating the analog signal on the motherboard of the PC.
Yeah, well, they all do that. It's AC97. It actually isn't. You need the sound card. It isn't going to go out on the TV. It has to be broken apart somewhere. And so it is actually broken up on the motherboard and split into either SPDIF or into analog 2-channel.
Okay.
Does the CPU do the transcoding that you mentioned? Or
did I do the transcoding?
When you said that you can transcode it the different format? Does
So-
the CPU do that, or
It will do it, and I'll pay for it if I sat there and started transcoding right now. Basically, what it would do is it would just try to do it as slow as it could and take as little horsepower as possible. So it would take forever. But for instance, the way I have this system working now is it does this commercial skipping scanning as it records the programs. Plus, so every time it records a program, it's also scanning for the commercials as it's recording that program, which means there's a trailing process running out behind it. So it does do that on 2 channels at the same time, and you can watch TV, and it doesn't skip except on the half hours when it actually realizes it's run out of disk space and has to start deleting large files. So usually there's a little shimmy on the half hour, but that's it.
If you keep it full all the time.
If you keep it full all the time, which you have a tendency to do because that's just the way it works. But you can. So let's do.
How fast can you make him talk? That's funny your tone. I want you to how much it sounds like.
You see how what it does, and that gets and it starts over.
Did it do that automatically, or did you set that?
The way I usually do it is I have it do the commercial skip, but I don't let it do it automatically. I can have it do that, however, it makes mistakes. So I don't let it do it automatically. What I usually have it do is I have it pop up with a little warning that says, I think there's a commercial here. But all we have to do when we have the keyboard is hit the end key and it jumps to the next, what it thinks is the beginning of the next portion of the show. There are shows, like The Daily Show, it almost does it right every time. Almost never have a problem. But there are shows like CSI Las Vegas, where it's always dark, where it has problems figuring out what the transitions are. So you have, as you can see, what it does is it breaks all their programs down into their individual components, and you can basically go and record any of these. If you want to have more complete information, that's available. It's all in a SQL database, so it's all available to you there. You can also notice things like when the show was originally broadcast. So let's see. For instance, there's a lower special victims unit. Once it gets going here, so it's telling you right now that the original air date on this was 2006, January 10th. So it actually knows the original air date, so you can actually watch things in order. You can have list the things in order from the originally broadcast. A lot of series that have watch them in order, which doesn't make sense. So you can do things like that. So those are the basics of just watching TV. So you can sit here with your Astro Control keyboard on the couch. Now, there are other things you can do. You can get videos. So you can get there's all kinds of videos on the net. Some of them are free, like some of the stuff you get from the BBC.
Stephen Colbert, there you go.
And I have Stephen Colbert's White House Correspondence Center because I missed it. And so this, this was the
Ambassador Joe and John, welcome.
And you can see I'm using the same internal viewer. So in the not myth distribution, they actually give you, this is what we're looking at right now that's providing this is the internal player that comes with myth that will play a number of different formats. But there are formats that won't play. So you also have MPlayer and Zine available to you. And you can control by video type in the videos area, so you can say if it ends with a .avi, use this player. If it ends with a .apg, use this player. So you can always play it. If it's available on Linux, you can basically play it. You can't edit those. Those are not editable. Those are just playable. You can also find things like, oops.
You couldn't transcode it to something that was editable?
I can't, if it's an AVI, no. I can transcode recordings I've made on this, and I can transcode things that are MPEG-2, but I would have difficulty transcoding anything other than MPEG-2 into something else.
Oh, you could write a script.
You can do it, but you're going to have a tremendous amount of loss.
Yeah, well, it depends on what the original video format was.
Right, but in most cases, most stuff is distributed on the internet, you're going to get a tremendous amount of loss. There are things here like torrent flux where you can go get programs. You get things like.
So your MythTV is a torrent client?
That's awesome. I think the torrent server too. And then you do things like jumping back 10 minutes. it understands, you know, this is a show that I haven't been able to find in the US at all, but it was on the BBC about 3 years ago. Kind of WordCon. But they things like this, you get, I keep finding stuff that I can't find anywhere else. All right, image gallery, do that real quick. So this basically lets you just drop your pictures onto it, and then if you want to do the slideshow, you can. Woohoo! It's a picture. It's a picture. Hey, it'll do a transition. Oh yeah. There's options. Of course, it's all transitions right now. It's random. The feature that isn't here yet, we notice we're not playing the synchronized beautiful music to go with your slideshow. But that is coming.
Is there OpenGL effects or what?
Those are OpenGL effects, actually.
That's sick.
So you can do that, and as I said, since you have a file share, you can also now, if you have a Windows machine out there that has all your pictures on it, you can, there's a share, it'll happily play those too. They'll do the same things.
Now, how easy is it to set up that kind of stuff? Do you have to do that through the web interface or through editing config files, or can you actually do it within the Myth?
You can't do it within Myth. It's the kind of stuff you can do. Anything you can do with Linux, you can do with this.
Okay.
Consider this, as I said, the wife acceptance factor is high. You'll have to.
But you have to
some
do
screwing
the
around.
mechanics.
Yeah, you got to do some stuff behind the scenes to make it work. But you can do, as far as the manipulations or just playing with all those things. When it's set up, it'll just do it. But you have to set it up once. Okay, here comes the fun stuff. Here's your recordings. All right, you have so many ways to do recordings. If you get the classic, obviously your program guide. And if you're trying to figure out which one this is Comcast. And among the things you can do is you can do things like show me every show that's the same one in your schedule. So just show me all the times that show. You can go and have it give you specific, more complete information on something at any time. You just start going, okay, that's about that. Okay, what was it? If I ask you, they'll tell me what the original air date was, the episode number, who was in it, who the director was, and all of that is available for you to find the shows by. So if you want to sit there and say, find me all the shows that were directed by Michael Priest, you can do that. And it will go and record them for you.
What's the color scheme on that other menu? Yeah, go back. Yeah. What's?
Oh yeah, there's a. Let's see. Drama's purple.
Okay.
Home Improvement is green. It's actually in MythWeb, so when I show you the website, I can show you the web interface. It has it in there.
Is it practical for this application to fetch a video over the internet from a...
Not in play in real time, but you can do torrents. So you can use torrents to pull. If you can find someone who wants to give it to you, it's available as a torrent. It's easy. I tried for fun. I had a little piece of an HDTV program on here just to see what would happen, and it died pretty quick given how big the file was.
So it seems like there's lectures and presentations like on some university websites. Like
yes, absolutely. You can pull those. But but those are the things that if you can get them to set them as torrents, you'll be a lot happier than just trying to pull them directly. Because the torrents allow you to share the download instructions. Yeah.
Can you have it filter what channels or what kind of shows?
Okay. You can set favorites, and you can filter for favorites. So there's all the favorites. I'll show you those. You can, it's almost like if you thought of it, somebody else already stuck in there, but it's probably on some key you didn't know about.
Yeah.
So what about video podcasts and regular podcasts?
If you can pull them down, if they're pure torrents or they're RSS feeds, they're always doing it.
There are RSS feeds with enclosures usually. With
enclosures, it can be done. I mean, I've done it. I did it. This stream has that ability to do that. It's just a little shakier than I'd like. I played with it and I wasn't very happy with it because it wasn't very reliable. But using things like torrents are very reliable. Go ahead.
So how does this menu indicate that the time slot's already recording something else?
Okay, so you see the little codes in the corners there? That one right there, that's a channel recording. and it's going to record that. Actually, it thinks it's recording it right now.
Okay.
Getting now, but
So if you're scrolling over a different section of the menu, it doesn't indicate that 8 p.m. is already occupied.
well, okay, you don't use this to find that out.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is the interface to, here are all your channels, here are all your programs for the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
All right, and basically this is all powered by MySQL expressions. So what it's doing is as you're moving through stuff, it's slicing and dicing and presenting it to you.
Okay.
If you want to say, this, it's going to record that. All right. Now, if I want to see what it's going to do, which I'm not going to do that yet. Let me show you how to find stuff first, and then I'll show you how it handles the. Right. So this is the simple program finder. If you know what the name of the program is, you can just pick a letter and go find it. All right. Hey, Cartoon Planet. And it will show you all the times it's on, plus the information associated with it. That makes things easy. So if you know the name, that's nice. Okay, program finder. Yahoo, titles. All right. So what do you want to find? You want to find out about something? I want to find all the shows.
Soylent. Oh no,
Soylent. Right, there you go. But it hasn't been on recently. Actually, there's a rule in here. Go get it the next time it comes on. So find all the shows that have the word barbecue.
These are the ones that have been or will be recorded. Or
the ones that I'm just saying, go and find me all the ones in the next 2 weeks that have the word barbecue in it. In this case, it has one here where it's going to record, and the other one it's not going to because I'm not really interested in QVC. So,
can you do this same kind of search on stuff you've already recorded?
I'm sorry, can you
do this kind of search on stuff you've already recorded? Like, what was that show I was watching?
Yes, you can. You can't really do the searches, but it does know everything it's ever recorded for you, and it knows the disposition of it. It knows whether you watched it or not. It knows to then follow rules that you set when you set up a new recording about whether you want to see it again or not.
So does it keep the director information, the actors, and all that?
Some,
not all. Just the TV listing. That's it.
It's mostly the listing. It uses most of the program descriptions. It uses that as the key.
When you say that it knows the disposition, does that mean if you've deleted it, it knows that you had recorded in the past and deleted it? And what if you burn it off to a DVD? Does it tell you that?
No, it doesn't have that. It's only tracking the recordings. It's not tracking whether you stuck it somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Make a suggestion. I'll probably add it. Okay. You do keywords. So if you want to find, all the programs that have the word dinner in them, there they all are.
That's the choose.
If they, if dinner exists here or in the name of the program, then it will find it. And as you saw when I looked at it there, it basically lets you pick them, and then if you find what you want, you just say record everything, and it'll go out and find it and record them.
Where does that list of keywords come from?
You type them in, you say new phrase. What do you want? Those are the past. So passwords remembers the things that I've done before and keeps them in the database. So it goes back and look at them for another time. So if I want to say I'll get to 80 quadrillion here. I didn't even say how to hit it. All right, so it will do that for you. It does not judge you.
Oh, that's a good question. Does this handle recommendations based on shows you've watched, like Kigo does?
No, because it doesn't send any information to pull it all together to get that information.
Well, it's got a database on it. It can do it.
But it only has your information. It doesn't have like thumbs up, thumbs down stuff. It doesn't have a reference to the other programs that it would use as a cross.
That's a good point. It would need a lot of metadata, I guess.
Right, it has metadata it doesn't have. It doesn't call home, so it doesn't have that information. You can also do stuff by people. So that means you can sit there and pick directors. Let's see, I'm going to pick one I know I'm going to find. This guy's got to be there. So those are all the Charlie Sheen movies for the next 2 weeks. And all the times they're on, and all the things he's in.
You can have a Sheen Fest.
You can have a Sheen Fest. Oh, why you didn't talk? Because I know I'll find tons and tons of stuff. I've been doing this before. If you're a 3 Days fan or a Super Size Me fan, nothing there.
So how much functionality do you have if you were to use this as a client for the TiVo? Is there a plugin or whatever?
All you can do is watch the pre-recorded show. That's it. You cannot manipulate anything on TV. It's like a TiVo client.
It's like the TiVo desktop.
It's like TiVo desktop. You can't do anything. You can just look at what's there on the desk.
So I couldn't transfer something that's on TiVo to a different format? If I ran the client on my desktop?
TiVo goes out of their way to make that hard.
Well, but if they manage to get it onto your screen at any point at all, there must be a way to get the disk.
At a high level of loss, yes.
Okay.
Depends on how bad you want it.
How bad you want it. Or get one of these and don't worry about it.
So, say now, for summary, the kind of inputs this works with is the cable television coaxial cable we'll plug in here, that's an input. And it'll also take an input from a DVD disc.
Yes, but you basically, it'll suck in analog video. If you want to add a fireware card, I can get it to suck in MPEG-2. It's just MPEG-2 files. That's all it is. So anything that's an MPEG-2, it understands. It understands MPEG-4. It understands as far as playback file types. Just bit about anything you find in ADI. Most of the Microsoft formats, QuickTime, etc. So it does understand all of this stuff. But as far as its ability to record media itself, with this card and given the horsepower of the machine, its primary uses as an MPEG recorder, MPEG-2 recorder. This is a slightly more robust way of doing searches, but it's not quite as you can go through and do a little more complicated. This was basically designed to be a more advanced search for people that didn't want to learn MySQL SQL statements, and personally I don't think it works very well. Search lists, everything that was new this week. What have I not seen before? Just all the programs that we don't know what they're using.
Oh, okay.
Movies, okay, here we go, movies. So there are all the movies. There are movies that are only 4 stars. There are the movies that are 3.5 and more. So you can basically use this as a way of finding what you might be most interested in. There's plenty of squid. This
is hooked up to your Comcast cable box?
No, this is analog cable.
No digital cable?
I don't use digital cable.
It wouldn't work with this one?
It will. You can, as you said, you can program it through FireWire, but then you're going to have to get a stronger box. I have hooked this up to satellite. It does work with that too.
So you control the satellite receiver or whatever by
with a flasher.
IR?
Yeah, with an IR flasher. Or with DirecTV, you can control through a serial port if you have the right receiver.
Right.
I played with the Motorola Comcast boxes, and one of the things I didn't like is you can actually take the standard def channels and suck them in over FireWire. It consumes twice the disk space as does the analog card, and the picture doesn't look any better. I don't know why. Okay, you can do stuff by categories, obviously. Basically, all the ways you can slice and dice, you can slice and dice. Right? So you can do all those different things. Custom record. Okay, here you go. You wanted to find out how to do SQL statements. Yeehaw. So, this was a request. Find all log orders before January 1st of 2000 that aren't in prime time is done. So you can write. There's a whole bunch of documentation on what you can do as far as basically creating your own custom records, with things like only find them on the 3rd Tuesday during the full moon. So you can do all that. Full moon part you can't do, but you can do the 3rd Tuesday. But you can do all of that.
What, you can't actually call?
You don't. Well, you got to get the data from somewhere else and then the schedule. It doesn't have that included in the scheduled download. You can add the data yourself. Yeah. So then you can set up rules like this and then have it do recordings. And then, of course, manual schedule, because we don't need that. All right, now the manual. How does it determine what it's going to record? Right? Well, every input, every program, every tuner and channel has a priority that you can assign to it. So you can say, I want this channel is always going to have a higher priority, and then you can individually specify the shows have higher priorities, and then that's how you control what the scheduler is going to choose to do. In this list, this is a list of all the programs that are currently in here, and the ones that are green are ones that it knows it's going to go get recordings for in the next 2 weeks. And then the ones that are white are the ones that it's like, hey, well, whatever.
What does yellow mean?
-1. Yeah, well, you can specify things at different things. You can have -1s too, because this was like, this isn't a high priority, so go and get it when you can. But if something else if I ever ask for something else, this is the kind of rule you write where you go, I don't want it to override anything I might otherwise do. And since I wrote that rule like 10 months ago, it's the kind of thing you wouldn't want to jump in and smash for your recordings. Priority spacing can be from plus 99 to minus 99. So we're not really stretching this thing very far. And you go on any one of these things, you go to any of these entries, and it'll show you, like, for instance, all the ones. Now, if you look here, it's not recording some of these. Why? See what it says down here? It knows that it recorded that, and we watched it, and we deleted it. So when you watch something and actually delete it, it gives you the option about whether you want it to re-record it or not, but the default is not to re-record it because you've already seen it. So since it remembers all that, you don't ever see reruns unless you want to. So, okay, now here's the part you were asking for. How do I know what's going to come up next? And you had a question?
Okay, can you set it so that it'll still record the reruns if there's nothing else going on, but at a low priority?
Yes, you can choose to do that. But usually you would probably you can do that one of two ways. There's a default setup you can do with where you would just do it. But there is nothing that I know of right now, unless you wrote a custom rule that would let it record that a rerun if you didn't care. Mostly because it's a disk consumption thing. What happens really quick with this, even with 200 gigs, it fills up. And so usually you're only interested, if it was a rerun, I probably didn't want to see it because there's probably something new that I'd rather see instead. But you could do it because it's totally open source. So obviously you could write some rule that would do it, but it would have to be, you'd have to actually go into the scheduler. So this, right now it thinks it's recording monkeys in space. I bet it's recording static. So this is, it's currently recording that. These are the items it's going to record going forward. It's actually hooked to cable. And you'll see notifications like this. For instance, it knows that the daily show is showed, what, 8 times a day? And it also knows from the descriptions and the episode numbers that are included in the download that it's going to be shown later, and so it does not have to get it in the first choice. So what happens is that it's very smart about recording things when it can, and optimizing for the number of tuners it has to get the programs you ask it to get.
That's so cool.
And
you have to fudge it with the TiVo. You really have to say, like, oh, manually record the daily show that happens to be at 10 in the morning.
Okay, so for instance, let's say I decided, oh wait, no, I really want the unit because the lawyers suck. So you can override it by just doing return on it, and you can now, it'll tell you what it thinks is a conflict, and then you can just go in and tell it you want to override it. And it will let you change it and override that, and it'll flip it in a second. So now the lawyers is being kicked out because I prioritized an override. So you can do that anytime. And this is available on the web too, so you can be sitting there and decide you want something instead, and you can also get access to this on the web and make changes in this.
It knows you have 2 tuners too.
And it knows I have 2 tuners, right? And if I had firewall interview, it would know that was another tuner. And it will prioritize among them. And I can change that. Yeah, go ahead.
So how do you watch 48 hours of TV in a 24-hour day?
By using the speed up option we showed you here.
And skipping commercials.
And skipping the commercials, because actually, after putting this in, and I had Replay TV. I have had Replay 3300 since 2000. And we don't use it anymore. It still sits there and it's running, but we don't use it anymore because this gives us better picture, it reacts faster, it does so much more. It's like,
So in all, after a while, don't you have to give up something like bathing or eating to squeeze all that TV time?
No, because I can stream this to your Trio.
Yeah, what you do is you get a projector like this and you beam it into the back of your shower curtain. They have those gears that have
I think, but the neat thing is that this makes it possible to look at 30 seconds or something and blow it up.
Oh yeah,
And move on.
Oh, you can really just hop through stuff really fast. And there are recordings on here. I've got shows on here that I've never like the Colbert Report I don't watch very often, but somebody's always talking about it on the web. And so what happens is I have to record the last 3 and then just run it in a trailing delete. And usually I don't even look at it unless somebody sits there and says, oh, there was something really cool on there, and then you go look at it.
Well, the way is you watch the middle of the science thing, you watch the last 5 minutes of it for the punchline.
That's how I think.
Is there any way they can do subtitles?
It's a little weak on the PVR 500. The project can do it, But right now, that particular card, there are issues with doing the closed caption. I do have some programs that did work on it, and I have other programs where it's not working, and I know that it's in process. Yeah.
What about SAP?
It's not there. Not really. It is on. It is not on this card at least. I was willing to get that to get 2 tuners at that price. This basically is your delete area, so it shows you what programs are available, how much disk space you have, and you can basically delete by going through categories or picking programs. So if you want to delete them, etc. Previously recorded, this is what you're talking about. This is its list of everything it knows is in the system somewhere. And so all of these are all the old things. So you're seeing stuff, you know, I can go back in time.
This is sort of like burying your soul in this, essentially.
Yeah, I will tell you that it does things I don't always ask it to do, but I don't really care because it always fixes itself. So you can basically, you know, where we're going back to. We're now back into June. This is how far back you want to go.
So why does it save all the data for previously recorded stuff, but it won't let you, use the metadata on recorded shows, so you can scan your inventory?
Well, it is here. Some of it is. Not all of it is.
I never saw the end of the paper.
See, it doesn't keep. It keeps the basic information. It has a program ID and it has a description.
But all the stuff that you previously recorded, how much? Was that just?
Yeah, that was an example. So, okay. So it has the things it's tracking is the things it's most concerned about is the title, the description. The problem is that these do change. The thing it really looks carefully at is both the series and the episode ID, which is consistent on the Tribune media services. So, or mostly consistent. If you have TiVo replay, you see it screw up there too, and it screws up here at the same time it does on those. So, but it's not tracking all the metadata, but it is tracking enough information to know whether it has seen that program before. I mean, as it is, I'm sure it has thousands of things in there right now.
How big is the database yet?
As big as you want to let it.
I mean, do you have maintenance to prune it or?
Well, you can. You basically could delete it. If I could go through and ask it to delete all the programs here, I could say, for instance, you were talking, if you wanted to see, if you didn't want it to remember what it had seen before, you could basically go in and tell it that you want to delete all of a particular program.
Because if you don't do anything, does this thing get copied?
Well, yeah, if you just keep using it and keep saying you don't want to see old programs, the MySQL database will keep growing. I mean, it's not that big. I mean, we're talking. The programs are gigabytes. The database is, I don't know, megabytes, 30, maybe 50 megabytes right now. That's nothing.
Does it have anything for keeping track of that some channels run 1 minute later than other channels and stuff?
Yeah, we can control all that. We'll get that in a second. All right, so that's how you get rid of that. And I'm just sort of moving through this. Let's say I want to. We'll go back to the Android recording and pick something logical schedules. Let's say I want to go find the Frasier sitcom on Friday the 28th for whatever reason. If I pick that by hitting return, this is the menu you're presented with to choose how you want to manipulate this stuff.
Oh, I want to see this.
You have a variety of choices. You can say record only this showing, record showing with this title and time, pick up one in the time slot each week, record a showing with the title every week, pick up the time slot every day, record one showing with this title every day, record at any time on any channel, which because it also pays attention to the descriptions on the repeats, it won't keep recording the same show over and over again if you repeat it 4 times in one day. And also be recorded at any time on any channel, which, like a lot of stuff for PBS I find myself doing, you see like 4 PBS channels, and so you may not see something because there's a conflict. At some point you'll get it later. So you can do things like that. You can also just hit return and it gives you a list that way. So you can just go to the list this way. Your scheduling options. All right, that's where you can control your priority. Normal is 0. If you want to sit there and control 1 minute late, 1 minute early, you can do that. There's also a category. You can create a category. You can pick one of the categories. One of the categories in the program guide is sports. You can say, for instance, always record a half hour or more automatically based on the category. It has that built-in system also.
Well, I was thinking more in terms of like if there are certain channels that for some reason always start their programs 1 minute later or earlier than all the other channels.
You can do There is a lot of stuff you can do with individual channels. I'm not sure you can do it quite that way. And yeah, I run into some of that too. My solution to that was to basically slap a minute on the front and the end of everything.
Well, that's what they've been doing on TiVo. But
the problem is that they'll arbitrarily change, and then people will.
Well, nothing's perfect.
So you can control that. This is how you can control how you want to look for duplicates. By the description, don't bother. By hope is how to end the description. You can also have it do things where it looks just for new episodes. You can have it only look in the previously recordings only for the duplicates. What it does for new episodes is that where I showed you the air date, the original air date, it looks at that number, and if it's within the last 2 weeks, it assumes it's a new show. And this turns on. Right. Storage options. Right. This controls the quality of what you're going to get. And basically there are 4 recording profiles built into MythTV that you can control. If you're doing stuff off a FireWire, you have no quality control, but as long as you're using one of these cards, you can control, default mode I have the same as my low quality mode. Live TV is much better, it's higher quality than TiVo high quality is. And then high quality is kind of in between. You can create recording groups, and what that lets you do is you can create different groups and then have the display system only show you things by group, and that's an option. I have never really used it. You can actually divide programs up by family member, put their names on it, let them select their own stuff. You can actually program pins into stuff so certain shows you can't get at. That's all in there. It's a little clunkier than I would like, and I haven't used it very much, but it's there. All right, this controls, and this is set as a default, so that when it records a show, that it automatically goes the trailing process to look for the commercial. And what it does is it doesn't actually remove the commercials from the program. What it does is it goes to the MySQL database and marks the offsets of where the commercials begin and end. And then it uses that, when you saw me pull the edit up, that's what I was pulling up to get the little red and green spots on the bar. You can program it to automatically transcode recordings. The only reason you might want to do that, I really can't think of a good reason to do it except if you want to actually transcode it into some other format like MPEG-4. But it doesn't, MPEG-4 does reduce your file size, but if you basically transcoding from MPEG-2 to MPEG-4 and you want a really high bitrate to start with, it's going to look awful. So it's not a
Does
good
this thing
idea.
have, novice and expert profiles and hide things like do not run user job number 1? People will be frightened by it.
Well, basically, here's what happens. It doesn't work.
Oh.
So right now it's deactivated. I can set it up right now and it won't do anything.
Yeah, but it just
it's not. There's not enough.
Some people, if they see something on the screen they don't understand, they worry about it.
Well, you can. First of all, you can change the names of these to other things.
Okay.
Right. It doesn't have to be called user job number 1.
Okay.
What people have been doing with them, if they have video iPods, they'll make a job, and what it does is it takes the file that they've got and then transcodes it into the reduced image size format, and then sticks it in a separate directory and makes the file share that they can load into their iPods. That's the main thing I've seen people using it for. The other thing you can do with it is that since the jobs are all scriptable, you can name them something else. You can make them do things like we were talking about how you can use other servers in the network to do work for you. You can use that to offload various jobs. Transcoding, commercial skipping, whatever.
I got a question. Is the interface that performs the playing of selected files, is that fairly accessible? Or
it's scriptable. Yeah, it's all written in XML.
So if you had a dial-up modem, you could press touch tone tones to bring up program number 3 and start playing it?
If you want to write it.
I was thinking this would be a slick little gadget to have on our local cable TV show where the person could dial in and play the city council meeting at 2 a.m.
Well,
Okay.
you can do that. Well, you take this, you take this, and you combine it with Asterisk, and you do an IDR. So if you know what Asterisk is?
Okay.
Asterisk is a Linux open source PBX, and it has the ability to be, it's an interactive voice response. You can program to do anything based on touchstones.
Well, Asterisk is a whole other world of its own. Yeah.
Well, that's next month. I played with Asterisk too. So then this lets you see basically your program details, which is what you see that right there. The previous episodes, upcoming episodes that it would pick. What you can do that for is once you make the changes and save them, then you can go and look at your various options. That's the basics of scheduling. The thing that's interesting, let's say, oh, actually, let's save something. Let's say, recording down in channel. Save. And oh gosh, now it's going to record them all. But what it's just done is it's now has that, and we're now trying to grab every phrase out there. And when if there repeats, it wouldn't re-record them. Now, I don't want to do that anymore. So I can now go in here and say edit options. I can tell it to never not record the single show. I can tell it never record, which is never record that show ever under any circumstance. Don't record means don't record it now. Never record means never record it ever, that particular show.
Even if it matches some other keywords or something?
The episode or the series?
The episode.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The episode. But I just go in here, turn that off, save it, and it'll go away. Okay, what else we got? Okay, Information Center. Not much I can show you here without breaking. There's a Netflix interface in this version. So you can sit there and see what's in your Netflix queue. And what's cool about it is it will tell you the top 550 and 100 and whatever movies on Netflix. And of course, subscribe to Blockbuster.
You're not able to add movies to your queue, right?
Yes, you are. You will accept your username and password, and you can actually screw around and actually interface with it. It'll tell you what's coming in your queue. It'll do all kinds of stuff. Although I don't know how all that works. I know you can look stuff up, but since I don't have Netflix, I don't know how you can do your queue.
It'd be cool if you could have if something in your queue was going to be on television at some point in the next 2 weeks, record that and take it out of your queue.
Well, I'm glad you're volunteering for all these Write that up, please. All right, so this is system status, and this is also available on the web page. Basically, here's my version. Here's the last time I updated my guide. I got all my guide data. I had 12 days, just because this is a copy of the disk from 2 days ago. My subscription expires on September 15th, and what they'll do is they'll send me an email saying fill out this stupid survey like 3 days before. Right now, Tutor 1 is recording. It's trying to record my name as Earl, monkeys in space. Tutor 2 is doing nothing. This basically tells you, gives you a list of the entries associated with what's going on with, and there's nothing about their stuff. So what kind of work the system was doing. If I go through it, it'll tell me when I tried to do those things and what it was trying to do. And so, it's going to go through and try and do auto expires and recordings and do stuff. And there's actually 2 separate processes because there's a front end and back end, and they're both trying to fight to delete recordings. Sometimes it says, I tried to delete it, but it wasn't there because the other guy got it first. You want something?
How about change audits? Like, can you figure out when somebody changed the priorities of shows?
No.
Or selected shows to be recorded?
Well, you could. There's a way to do it. It's obviously there, but it's not available where you can see it.
MythTV runs as a user service for a single user on your system, or is it as root?
It runs as MythTV. You have a choice though, because if you want to take advantage of some of the better video tricks, it helps to have priority threads, which you actually have to run through.
But only certain processes need.
But only certain processes need to do that.
Could you, let's maybe back up for a moment. The order of getting things assembled to put together an MythTV system would be to start by going to the URLs and then buy the hardware.
Yeah, but the thing is, first figure out, the reason I gave you guys a recipe was because I know the hardware works.
Okay. Basically,
but and I'm in the process of building a high def one to figure out what's going to take to do that, and I've been trying to figure out what my trade-offs are.
And do you think which one should start with the MythTV boot to CD?
I think that the easiest way to get going is to have an off-net. You can almost walk into a store and boot it and see where you get. But it won't. But you can boot it, but it won't. I mean, you have to actually install the disk. It's not a live CD. You have to install it on the machine.
I was going to suggest just going to the wiki site for MythTV because they have a lot of compatible cards and people's experiences with them.
Yeah, but I found that the data is
outdated.
It's both outdated and unreliable.
Also, the stuff that fries is never the stuff that's listed.
That's true. And if Newegg sold stuff the way Fry's does, I wouldn't buy stuff from them because I would always get the wrong thing. So for instance, right now, what is it doing? It's flagging. It thinks it's flagging commercials on static, but at 39 frames per second, which is faster than usual, because there's probably no picture worth the same. So there's your basic machine status, your uptime, how much RAM you got, how much disk space you got. It tries to give you an idea of how much recording time you have left based on the amount of disk space you have available on the left. And then also, here's the shows that's going to automatically expire next when it runs out of space to get new programs. So you can go in there and save them if you want to.
Want to give you the sizes? That's cool.
Basic optical disk. I can play a DVD. It will do that. I think everyone here knows that you need DCSS if you want to play commercial DVD.
Does it all do all the bells and whistles, like different viewpoints and fancy menus?
It's Sign. It'll do whatever Sign will do. It does not play VCDs. It will import DVDs, and you can then have them as copies on your machine. My replay would do that. I don't think TiVo does. You could actually take a DVD, like if you're on one of those service plans, it'll suck it into the machine and then play it back. And you can take back the DVD and what you have to do, but you can't do anything with it once inside. With this, you can do almost anything you want to with it. You can obviously burn DVDs, you can import CDs for music, and you can also play MPEG CDs or DVDs, which means anything that has an MPEG 4 on it, you can play back, or actually any file that's a video file that is capable of playing, it will play.
So the import DVD is ripping
It'll rip the movie off the DVD. But you have to get DCSS to have it work on commercial DVDs. If they're school DVDs or anything else, it'll just rip off the content. And you get to pick at what level of quality you want to do it. It'll take them raw, or it will transcode it into a much smaller file if you want. Okay, now the back end. All right, music tools. This is so that you change. You can just play the music, obviously. If you drop new music into its files system where the music is, you can have it scan for new music, figure out where everything is, and put all the appropriate data in. The music selection, the videos, everything is actually running through the MySQL database. So there's tables for all of this stuff. And so what happens is you have to every once in a while kind of go in and tell it what's going on. If you just drop music into it, you don't tell it to scan for it, you will wonder why it's not there. That's why. So they're using the database to insulate things.
Does it use CDDD or that kind of lookup for if you just drop it?
It uses free DB.
Or okay, yeah.
Yeah, free DB.
Didn't that recently go away or something?
So this is like you change stuff. So here's what what's going on with the video files, and you can go through and you can label these things because it doesn't have any idea where to get this information. So if I started pulling in movies and stuff, I could say parental level and year, and I could give it more complete information. There's also a way to get cover art from Amazon, which is where you saw the albums. That's where I got the album covers. There's a way to pull album covers in down. Although that's not something that's built into it by default. This basically lets you control any key on the whole system, so you can sit there and remap all the keys. And now the fun part. All right, setting up your MythTV. Yeah, sorry, thank you. So these are the basics. Where's the database? This is the front end, back end. Obviously, everything's on the same machine, but you can spread this stuff around. You can have the database have a different name. You can use different names and passwords. So all of that, and I'm too far away from the keyboard, so you're going to have to put up with it.
Oh, that's fine.
You can have it wake up on land. You can change things in the front end preferences. You can control how your audio output works. This is usually where the sound card stuff gets screwed up right here. So one of the things I learned painfully was that if you record something in FireWire and you have analog output and you have either of these two boxes checked, you get to listen to a bunch of static. And no one knew what that was, but I figured it out. There's your mixer and devices, which like AC97 controls, which is and you can do things like control left and right muting. You can control also your picture volume, your PCM volume versus standard stuff. This is just your basic, everything. If you want to get into a menu, anytime you want to get out of something, you hit escape. And that basically it confirms access to things that it considers important. There's also a network remote control port. You can actually control this. There's programs you can control it from other computers, from remotes, from Palm Pilots, from whatever you want. Pretty much there's ways of controlling this in some other way. If you want to put parental code and put a pin into it, you can. Monitor DVD, CD, DVD means if you put a DVD into it, it'll try and figure it out as you're playing it. You enable Xbox hardware. The distribution does support, and I have not tried this, it does support the Xbox as basically a front end, which means you can use it as a viewer for anything you record on.
What do you need to do to the Xbox to be able to use it?
Well, there's some notes on how to do it. Basically, you got to break the security and then get Linux onto it.
Okay.
But it's not that hard to do. It's well known how to do it. There's a great paper I read a few weeks ago talking about how bad the security was on the original Xbox and all the different ways they cracked it. Every time Microsoft would fix a hole, they'd find 6 others. This is even the logging you saw is actually written in the database, and this basically controls how much information it keeps with that and how often it cleans it out. So this kind of stuff, for instance, you're talking about. It does clean out some of it, but it's not cleaning out things like it won't clean out things like the programs you would watch. I mean, you might actually not want to watch that same program in 5 years, so it's going to remember it. The basic stuff. This is essentially all you're doing is you're telling it when to go out and get the scheduling data, and everything you see on this is basically blown away by this, which says Tribune got upset. Zaptec got upset because things like Not Myth were basically these prepackaged things, and they all had go get the data at the same time the same day. And so they were getting swamped. And everyone was getting their data at 9:25 a.m. local time. So for 3 hours every morning you get pummeled in this one portal. So they requested that this be added, so now they make suggestions. So what happens is it kind of goes out and gets the sundown once a day. But I notice it does change quite a bit. That's all that. Appearance. You can control we're just looking at one of the potential styles. You can have that style. You see about the corner there. There's a variety of different, that's the classic MythTV style right there. This whole thing is skimmable and changeable. And a lot of the stuff is in XML files that you can actually alter with variables. So you just change where you want to put stuff in the variables and it changes the look and feel. So I just like this one. You can also control which QT You can control your font sizes. You can freak people out and use a random theme every time you turn it on. Why did they do that? Basically because they can. Yeah. It's like, why did you put that there? In different situations, you may have these issues because your GUI width and control may be different than your actual TV control.
Is this for like underscanning and overscanning?
There's part of this is overscanning. This is part of the offset stuff. There's actually in other places too for the video. This is for the GUI. But you can also control, you can make the GUI size, you can lock them so that, my GUI is going to be 600 by 800, my TV is going to be that way too. You don't usually have to worry about that too much with the NVIDIA cards, it just does it for you. But in some cases you do need that. You can also, if you want to sit there and use this on a regular workstation, you don't have to run it full screen, you can run it as a window and just have it just be another application. You can fire up the player. That's available to you also. So you can do things like, if I go up here, alright, so I can control, for instance, the separating control of the mode and GUI playback based on output size, rates, all that stuff. Languages, blah, 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 blah. Well, the only thing that's interesting about this is that you can control, this controls things like, what do the dates look like in your program listings? What, all this stuff is where that all comes from. And you can control what you want that stuff to look like. You want, I don't like that, I want this. I actually found I liked the year because with the year that I could figure out what time the show was actually on the air. You have control over different fonts. You have control, depending upon how much horsepower your machine has, this machine has plenty of power. You can use transparent or non-transparent boxes. Obviously solid fills are going to be easier for the CPU to handle.
What was the LCD thing?
Back away or whatever.
Yeah.
Is it backwards forwards?
Yeah.
Forwards. Yeah, you can enable, there are boxes you can have little LCDs on the front that'll display what it's playing and what's
Like
going on.
a
You
Matrox
can-
orbital or something?
Right, you turn it on, you have display the time, the menus, what it's doing, what music and artist, all the stuff, you have it flash on the LCD on the front of the box.
So instead of having a red light coming on saying you're recording, you
Well, yeah, if you have an LCD or one of the little, I've also seen little plasma displays that do the same thing. You can basically write what's going on in the box, and that's already built into this, including your recording status. I mean, it'll just sit up there and flash stuff while you're doing it. I don't have one on this, sorry.
Does that require a specific model, or is there a standard on that?
There's
or
a
what?
standard. There's a standard associated with
Just
it.
serial, isn't it? Or USB or something? Or?
Sure, I have to go look it up and tell you exactly what this is standard.
Probably is.
When people are building their high-end boxes, like you buy the new like spun aluminum cases, a lot of times they'll come with the LCD displays in them, and it's designed to work with those. You know, if you want to pay $300 for your case.
It seems like an awful lot of functionality for something that's version 0.19.
Hey, that's like, they're almost
No, they started off
come on.
with, it's 3 years old, they started off, the first version I saw was actually it was 0.2, and then when they got to 10, they went, oh. They went 0.9. Which is pretty funny.
until 0.20.
Yeah, TouchPaint's 4 years old and it's at 0.9.15. So, yeah.
What it's doing is, because when I back out, it thinks I changed something, so it's trying to reset. Alright, so here's where you control what channels are going to look like. I mean, everything in here is stuff. And now, by the way, I'm not showing you your setup menus, which you can't see without me shutting this down and starting it up. When you first set it up, there's a whole bunch of other stuff you go to set up and control channels, what channels you're going to see, what your inputs are, where you're going to get your cable listings, when you sign up for Zap2it, you also tell it what your channel lineup is. You know, I'm in San Francisco, so I've got Comcast Digital, or I've got Comcast Regular, or it's Comcast Regular Rebuild, and you have to kind of play around with that kind of stuff. Or you know, I'm using satellite or whatever you're using. This is where you can control, you know, stuff like auto expire, how long your live TV's. Just like TiVo, this records everything you watch on live TV. So if you want, it'll actually leave those recordings where you can see them when you go back to the all programs area.
Oh, wow.
If you want to, it'll do that. The other thing it does when you do that, though, is if you're watching the show, and Replay doesn't do this, and TiVo does. If you're watching a show and you sort of sitting there watching it for 10 minutes or whatever, and then you decide to record it, it will record the previous 10 minutes you were watching and the rest of the show.
Cool. How big of a buffer does it have? Because TiVo only has a half an hour buffer. So if you're watching a 2-hour movie and you decide, you know, at the very end, oh,
I think what they did is they made it unlimited. It's whatever your disk space is now. It used to be there used to be a 10 gig limit, and they eliminated that in this last release. And you used to have a separate partition that you would optimize just for the buffering, and they eliminated that. Now it's part of the standard store. And by recording them in the same space, they don't care. So
stuff
all they
like
do
this
when they're done is they change the name.
Stuff like MythTV is probably driving some of the file system improvements in Linux, I'm sure.
Well, they're following.
I got a question. Did you on the file size thing? Did you start out using exe file system and then migrate to the one you mentioned?
Yes.
It had the
XFS. You can use JFS too, but yeah, the problem was there was more chattering going on because if you do an XFS and I have let's say I have a 3 gig file and I delete it, the whole machine comes to a glorious stop.
In XFS? Or
no, in EXT.
Oh, in EXT.
Does not Myth give you the option to set that up when you're installing it?
Actually, it doesn't give you the option. It's something you have to be smart enough to do when you set it up.
Okay.
If I take the .NET CD and stick it, and just pop it into a thing and say install, it'll use EXTF. They can't do everything for you.
Why not?
Because then it's no fun. Commercial skip control. You can control, what kind of methods you want to use for your commercial skip. like frame detection, like frame scene change, blah, blah, blah.
Logo detection.
How about 60 dB increase in volume?
Yeah, right.
No, you can.
I'm sure they'll take patches.
They'll take patches. The number one complaint that people have about these systems is that the volume changes when you go between different channels, but it's really not the system's fault.
Yeah.
So everyone's now talking about normalizing patches. You can basically make it so all the audio will have the same volume, but it hasn't been done yet. Okay, so this we can control running user jobs on new recordings, etc. And you, as I said, you can change the names of these. But you don't need a backend setup. All right. When do I want to delete files? That's the information on how to do it. All right. Time to record before start of show. Time to record before end of show. Category of record time. So if you want to sit there and add sports to this and say add 30 minutes, it will do it. This is for controlling. You have high def. You can determine what percentage of signal strength you need to even bother. Because you know you either get it or you get blue. So
when you say record 10 seconds before, if it was recording a show, you know, have two shows back to back.
Well, it's on the net, so it's always staying in sync with atomic clock.
Well, the question is if they're back to back.
Back-to-back shows.
Oh,
That's 10 seconds over and 10 seconds.
what it does in that case, well, if you have one tuner, then it just divides them evenly. If it isn't recording at the time, it does the 10 seconds or within 10 seconds later. If you have two tuners, it will try and they're free, it will stagger them. That's all been figured out. Okay, program guide. This determines, again, you can control, like you see CPU usage high. You can control, depending on the horsepower of your machine, how much work you want to do, how pretty you want to make the interface.
Does it use dual processors? What?
No. It does do it. If you have a dual core system, it's good to have. But it's not going to actually thread very well. It's going to basically take the two bulkiest processes and slap them each one.
Is it using OpenGL for like this alpha transparency stuff though? I mean, because that would not really be CPU intensive. That'd be
This is not. On the slideshow it is. The new version is coming out next. The 0.20 release is supposed to have all kinds of OpenGL transitions.
Okay. So it's using X
and there's going to be more control while you're watching television. Right now you have to do this thing where you're watching TV, and if you want to do something else, you have to jump out kind of stuff. Okay. And that's going to go away in the next release.
Okay.
But that's because part of the reason they can do that is because they did everything in OpenGL.
Okay.
What about picture-in-picture?
Picture-in-picture is available if you have two tuners. But this is available on playback, because you can't play two files at the same time. But you can if you're watching them and you can picture-in-picture with live TV.
I've seen systems in the past where people have like 8 channels all up on the screen and little pictures so that they can sort of...
You can do it. I got to take it with this, at least not as it's scrolling figure. There's one of the things all of these systems have. Now this is kind of interesting. You can control, there are 4 different decoders in the standard MythTV for decoding of video. There's standard, which uses one library. There's a libNA2 that uses another library. There's the standard hardware accelerated version for use with NVIDIA. And then there's VIA has their own. So some people use those, you see the very small ATX that have the, I don't remember the name of the processors, but they're really small. They're fanless. They're a couple $100. With a motherboard, they come with a processor, and they're done by VIA. And they're basically C3 stuff.
Mini ITX.
The Mini ITX stuff. They have their own video assist chipset, and there's code written for that will take advantage of that.
Does it actually work well? I've heard a lot of people complain about it in the past.
VIA apparently stepped in and fixed it, and then there's been this pissing match, and so it's supposedly broken again.
Nice.
But because VIA's been having this problem with their relationship with the open source community. So you can change and control stuff. So for instance, like if I'm running HDTV, I'd almost have to run XP playing it and giving you an image of it. Okay. So basically, you get an idea that this thing is massively configurable. There's your overscreening. You can control there's a separate control for controlling when you're watching video display, what that looks like. Where you want the box, what the progress stuff looks like, what the pause looks like, all that is separately configurable with different controls.
So how long did it take you to learn this application?
Actually, it didn't take that long because I'm going to grab my water. It didn't take that long. You just start using it and playing with it. And I mean, the cool thing about it is once you get it working, it's a TiVo Plus, and so you can wander through and change all these things if you want to, but you don't have to.
Can you set up profiles for at least for the viewing aspect of it? So in other words, like, you know, the kid has one like horribly colorful interface, and dad has something with a lot of gadgets, and mom has something with
that. Well, you can create playback groups like what we're showing here, and you can also control. So play for this particular deal. We're showing you how you make the program play faster. Well, it automatically knows to play at 115%.
But this is specific to types of shows. This isn't something that, like, you know, dad wants his stuff to go really fast, and
there is a way to provide access to categories you create. So if you say, if you create a recording and it's, you know, dad's category, then you can make it so you won't get only dad shows are shown. But it's not lockable.
Okay.
But it will do that. But what you can't do is, it won't let you change the interface because no one's logging into it.
That's the problem.
Yeah, you're not logging into your TV.
Yes, you can log into your TV. You have all your RSS news feeds, and
there's no switch user here.
Yeah. There's no switch user. It's all one user. We assume it's a.
But they're XML files, so you could probably write a script that just sucks them and restarts.
Well, you got the source. Go
say that about it.
How difficult is it to upgrade to any point? Does it mess anything up, or is everything?
Not Myth. The good news on if you do the standard MythTV, it's a big effing pain in the rear. Not Myth. They're pretty good about basically making it so what they do is you do a backup of the system where there's a built-in backup where it'll back up the database, back up all the basic stuff, and then it will only wipe the root partition where it stores all of its programs and everything else will stay the same. So you can basically upgrade it to keep all your shows. And except for the time that they broke it and everyone screamed, it's worked pretty well. Yeah.
I'm thinking about using this for a handicapped child to play back videos.
Okay.
Now, if I got the video from the library, played it on a VCR, could I get it into the MythTV file?
Yeah, you can import it through one of these analog video cards by you can program, instead of having it go to the tuner, you say go to the video input and it will record anything off of an analog video connection.
And then the keyboard could be modified so that just a few keys could do the stop, play, record in the program.
Yeah, you also can edit the keys to do anything you want. So you can take, you can change the way all the keys work.
So you could actually use this application and go real far towards adapting it towards a special needs person with special content. Copy from fragile medium into a box sheet.
You can import anything you need to into it. I mean, it's not gonna, there's gonna be quality issues. MPEG compressed VHS does not look that great, but.
Well, is there any decent way to get, like if it's a video from the library, is it?
Well, like DVDs, the DVDs you get from the library would suck in quite nicely, but you know, VHS, if you take a VHS which is already very low quality, and then you MPEG encode it, which makes it even worse.
That's because of de-interlacing and stuff like that?
It's just because there's so little information in the existing recording that when it's compromised, it's like doing an MP3 to an MP3, it sounds awful. If you try to convert from lossy, they're both lossy formats, so every time you lose. And so even if you were to record at the highest bit rate possible, it still looks like crud.
Okay.
That's the only problem with that. So VHS doesn't work. DVDs should be fine. Any curved video file you can find. Recording profiles, here's what you do and pick how you want different things to work. You obviously give it names. You can have it auto transcode. You pick your width and your height. Here's my bit rate, my 2200 and my 6000. And then you also can control, how much you want to dedicate to your sound.
Got a question for you. I see my brand of MPEG encoder up there.
Yeah.
Does that mean that they've compiled all the?
Yeah, it supports all the Hall Paying
work when it's plugged into the box.
All the Hall Paying stuff that's in a card that goes in the box works. The stuff that goes on USB.
Okay. I want that.
So how difficult would it be for me if I already configured my system and it's running, Debian and this MythTV is part of the repository, so I could
well, that's what I run into the problem. The reason I went to not Myth instead of just going with the Debian stuff is that because of the different things you end up having to do with having to pull things from different places, Debian runs in their stable release in particular, runs so far behind that half the stuff doesn't work. And half the stuff won't compile against their existing devs. So you end up having to pull them down and rebuild everything, and it's not worth the try.
So you would never be like an apt-get,
No, because they're not. Well, there are some people that I have seen who have tried to take different pieces of this and create repositories so you could get most of it, but it is not as complete as this is.
What about Fedora 4?
Fedora 4 is probably in better shape than the Debian is by itself.
How about Ubuntu?
There's one guy who just does nothing but keep writing how-tos on Fedora.
For Debian, there is this www.debian-multimedia.org. There used to be this Marilat repository.
And one part of this has come from Marilat.
He recently, put in his own packages for it because he was sick of the ones that were in regular Debian.
Right. So I'm not, and maybe he's fixed that because that's been a real problem.
But I haven't tried it, so I don't know whether it's any good.
Yeah, I don't know what's any good either.
What about building systems starting with Ubuntu?
There's a how to on Ubuntu, and I haven't tried it. Okay. And prior to Dapper, I didn't want to try it. So I kept looking at Breezy and went, no. So you also have the ability to do transcoders, so you can do auto detect and MythTV 2. This is where you do lots of by default. So if I strip out the commercials and I tell them to go transcode it, this is the transcoder we use where we just cut the commercials out but leave the image quality the same. That's what's interesting is how they did this, and we'll talk about the question of Stone Soup. The way they're doing lossless transcoding is they have a Java program that runs it called Project X. And so somebody wrote the code and said, well, we get to slap that in.
So you don't get a video glitch when you're at the edit point or something?
Nope. No, they know how to find the GOPs, which and cut at those points. And about every 15 frames you get, which is a real frame you can cut at. Sweet. This is how you can control your priorities by what type of recording it is, and also by channels and by all that other stuff. And you can also set channel priorities where you can sit there and say, channel 2 is a +1, channel 3 is a +1. So basically, some of them will be set higher than others. QVC is a -20. Media settings. This is where you can control, your basic player settings, how things get ripped, what it's going to do when it creates the tracks. All this stuff is basically, it comes out of the box one way. I haven't changed it, but it's there. If you want to change it, you can. You can determine if you want to use food or lame or FLAC. You can determine what you're willing to do as far as quality. You can determine whether you want to use variable bit rates, because particularly the cell phones that have MP3 players in it don't support variable bit rates. All that stuff is in here somewhere. That's your basic player. Everyone recognize that player? And so that comes in handy. What you can do with that player then is you can specify by file type what command will be run. So if it's an MPG, it uses the internal player. In the case of a DVD or a video TS, which is part of a DVD, it uses MPlayer. But all of this is, and what's nice about it is you end up changing it as time goes on.
I saw it looked like it had support for text files.
It does. If you want to sit there and it'll pop up with text files.
Has anybody put Festival on this thing and had it read? Just turn it into a screen reader pretty much? Like you're cooking your breakfast and it's reading you your CNN News website?
No, I haven't seen anyone do that yet. I've seen people do that with Asterisk, but I haven't seen people do it.
With Asterisk, that's cool.
The log separating out all the meta tags.
So there's your how to place it, how you want to rip your DVDs, how you want it to do it, how you want it'll do transcoding. There's a little daemon actually will transcode the DVDs in the background. That's one of those things you can't do other things while it's doing it because it does it at a very low priority because it only has to read stuff. It's not that big a deal. But you can control how that works. Let's see. All right. People said they're saying this is where you control where you get your weather, how you get your news plays. I'm not going to go into it. There's how you do sit phone.
Oh God.
There you go. And if we got a flash on a password, I'm in trouble now. Let's see. It's on the video.
Yeah.
They should start out. That's actually pretty stupid. They should put asterisks there. So what games does it come with?
None.
Oh, it doesn't come with any games.
No, it's all you get to do it on your own. They give you, there's a how-to on how to do it. You can go get all the pieces. But since the only way you get most of the games to work is by getting illegal ROMs, I'm not going to include it on the distribution.
Oh, that's right, because those are main games. Did it have any other like?
It has NES. No, it has NES. It has Nintendo 64.
No, but what I'm saying is, does it not support any open source games?
Yeah, you can play.
Because I've written
two.
I've written plenty of games that play on 640 by 480. You know,
yeah, there are two games: Touch Racer and one other. Arrow Bubble, maybe.
They should add tux paint for the kids.
Oh, that would be, talk to the Tux Pay maintainer about
Oh,
that.
yeah. Next time I look at a mirror.
So, this is the kind of stuff you want to back up the database.
Yeah,
You can do it here. Then there's this whole.
Man, is it actually doing something now?
I just told her to do something that I didn't want to. Yes, I did.
Okay.
Well, no.
No status report? No percent bar? Cancel button?
Yeah. So it's often doing that. It'll take it a minute or two to do that. Just backing up the whole single database into a text file.
It's getting a little late.
While I was doing that, can I ask you about ATI? Printer cards.
I don't recommend it.
Okay.
I don't recommend it. And that's one of the things that I keep running into over and over again is everyone bitching and moaning about the ATI.
Yeah, but
ATI is not.
No, it's not there.
ATI is not open source friendly. Do not want their cards.
Okay.
Yeah, NVIDIA is entirely open source, but at least they will provide drivers that work.
Okay.
ATI basically is
What about Matrox?
same thing.
Not for good.
Yeah. Just buying video cards.
So is there a reasonable priced HD tuner card? Because one, there's the HD.
The PC TV is about 120 bucks now.
Okay.
About $55.
Same as the.
That's just the tuner card.
Single tuner card. Oh, just.
And it comes with Linux drivers and works with this out of the box.
Nice.
And that's for over the air. And then the other choice is to go FireWire.
Well,
and then if you go FireWire, don't buy the VIA chipsets, they stop.
No, I can receive, I'm down in South San Jose, but I can receive most everything out of the city off my rooftop antenna.
Oh, okay.
In HD?
Yeah, HD, absolutely.
That's
It looks like crap on the analog stuff, but it's rock solid on digital.
What did you say was the FireWire chipset for this?
I'm not sure those are the mark in here. So that's not going to be our best.
Joe, I battery.
Yeah, there's some I found a package rebooted to UTI card.
Oh, this is the way you get out of any problems you have. Control all backspace. For all of you who recognize. And I threw the extra saver on there because it keeps these things from burning in. Now, the only thing I will otherwise show you.
Oh, does it do any? I wasn't here for when you were playing music. Does it do any like visualizations? Like
yes.
Oh, sweet.
So, well, what I was doing was
something to stare at.
Exactly.
You did this, you know. And you can also do like oscilloscope and all that stuff. And the only other thing I would show in all this is the web interface, which I can do really fast by just switching over this. He says. And you know how I got the display to work tonight. Alright, so Torrent Flux, for those of you who are interested, if you want to use torrents,
that's cool.
It's a PHP-based torrent client and server.
Who needs a cable with it?
Busy. It's working very well. It's working very hard doing that backtesting.
Kill all MySQL now?
MySQL will take all the horsepower out of the box.
So what would happen if we were to quote it right now? Some shell, would it skip or?
What would it do? Yeah. Actually, it would probably just come up and run because the only thing that would be screwed up would be the backup.
Oh, because is it doing DMA to a hardware decoder on your system, or?
Well, if you don't recover it, they're all journaling file systems, everything on it.
Oh, to kill, I see, to kill.
So if you think if the power drops on it right now, I haven't ever had a problem with it coming back and it's had a power whacked on it about 5 or 6 times. The thing it's running into right now is that it's the process to kill it.
They don't set it up to, after n number of reboots, do a F6, or do they? Because that could get annoying. You want to watch that roll.
No, it's still using journaling file systems, so I don't have it.
But even journal file systems, they might be set up to do that.
Generally, you don't do that.
Okay.
Well, that's the default for ext3, but he uses XFS.
Okay, that's right. Because they use
It's going to go ahead and kill the backup or something?
Yeah, basically what I'm doing. Come on, talk to me. You can do well. There. Root. Do that on your keyboard. You should be able to.
Yeah, exactly.
God, I took a V-zip. Okay.
Oh, God. No wonder.
6726.
Yay!
It's still doing this flag or something.
Yeah, well, that's the commercial flagger. So that's the process that we showed you earlier. Things is recording programs. That's the one that's usually, by the way, gobbling up most of the CPU. If it's actually used. And I actually have SAR and stuff on here, if I can see what it's doing. Ooh. Now, let's see what we have. Oh, my page yet.
Can you turn the lights on?
Yes.
Ah, good, now. Now you see more than just a white rectangle on the screen.
That's you too.
What a neat demonstration. So you put a lot of stuff together.
Well, I wouldn't be able to show you all this stuff if I hadn't had it for a year. Having it for a year has given me the opportunity to sit here and play with all this stuff on the side. But I am disappointed that there really isn't a central place of information for making these things work.
Somebody should write a book.
Yeah, but it would be obsolete within a week. It would be obsolete before you could print.
There needs to be a way of
That's true.
the
All
whole
those.
tree of stuff.
As someone who works with this stuff all the time, other than, I don't buy very many books because usually by the time I can get my hands on them, they're no longer current. Which is kind of disappointing. There's your HD 5500 card.
Well, the multimedia hacks had a MythTV explanation, but it was built around getting a whole bunch of sources and compiling them.
Right, and that's the traditional way to do it. Here we go. All right. Don't back up before you want to go on the way. All right, so you have everything here from your basic listings, which you will go in a single database and pull up the current listings that you can actually schedule online. And if we go across this, you can see there's myth burn. You can actually pick shows and have burn a DVD. And of course, you have to leave the DVD in the machine when you left home. You can burn, but it will do that. So here's your basic listings. You can search for material. You can pick any of these things. The stuff in green means stuff it's going to record.
So now you're talking to your box as if it's a remote.
It's a web server.
It is a remote server.
It's not a laptop. I'm sitting on my laptop. You're looking at it. You're looking at my laptop. You're not looking at the box. I'm talking to it just like I would over the internet. And I do this all the time. So it says, "Oh, I want to see this." Okay, jump to the box, change it. And when I change it, I go in here and I'll say, it has a list of here's my upcoming recordings, and I can actually watch and change what it's going to do here by making changes in the schedule online.
So could you do streaming video through this interface?
Yes. You can stream video. It is the MythStream TV portion of it. You can do it two ways. First of all, I can go to my recorded shows right here, and it'll show me the shows, and I can actually play them back in this web browser.
From work.
Well, I mean, hey, I got 100 megabits. So we'll do it.
There's no router in between, just a patch cable.
Yeah, this is just a crossover.
Okay.
We're doing it bad router, it wouldn't make that much difference. See, there we have raising that. Notice the charming outlook here. Static, 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 static. Oh, show.
So it doesn't give you a better version to transmit while it's streaming? I mean, is it just transferring the same file that you have on your hard drive?
Yeah, but there's an option with this stream to do transcoding in real time using VLC to transcode in real time.
So you can watch it like you said on a trio, I guess?
Well, now this is really, this is a real Linux box that has inputs and outputs you can redirect.
Takes time.
We'll do it.
Is it possible to have your stream be what's on the TV? So the first person, let's say you're going to,
seen someone do that.
so you're watching TV and you go into the kitchen, you can bring a laptop with you into the kitchen and see the same thing that's on the stereo.
Bill, why would you want to do that? Because you have to wait through the commercials.
No,
you want to watch something you've already recorded.
Right, but I want to watch the same recording wherever I am.
I canceled it all. It did exactly what I told it to. I canceled it after starting. But it would play that. And you can go in here and you can, so like here's a static recording, so you can delete it and re-record it or kill it. Right now, in case it's currently recording these two files of static. So here are all the shows, and you can basically go through all of this, and you can also slice and dice as to what you want to see. You can tell it to go search for things. You can do full searches of your database. You can look at the backup status. You have access to all the logs. Pretty much you can do whatever you want with it. This, like for instance right here, I can get to a lot of the setup stuff. I can control the channels. I can. A lot of times you'll find yourself something screwed up, and or you can sit there with a laptop in your living room and do it that way too. But you can basically like we had one case where a channel went away, and the thing doesn't like it when it starts recording garbage. Well, I can sit there and just turn off the channel from anywhere.
What's nice about being able to control this from a laptop, even if you're in the same room, is other people in their family can be watching what's on TV. They can be mucking with it behind.
Now, the other thing you can do is you can control through VLC. So you can do VLC control of the whole interface. You can sit there, I can control the same screens and everything else through VLC.
What do you know? What's VLC?
You know what VLC is?
Video for Linux client?
Nope, it's not.
Video LAN client.
Video network client.
But what I'm saying, that would control what's on the TV too, though, wouldn't it? Or would it be separate?
Or would it make sure it's off?
So the thing that I was asking about would be best solved with VNC probably.
Probably.
So if I want to take my laptop into the kitchen and have the same thing that's on the TV in the living room in the kitchen.
Well, you can't show TV. You can show the menus, but you can't stream the video because think of how many bits that is.
Well, even if it's crappy quality,
No,
or it
it's
just
not.
doesn't even
It
try.
doesn't even do it because we're using hardware acceleration from the card to punch through X windows to display the video fast.
So it can't even try.
Blue screen.
You get a black.
Wow, well, this is really neat. This is
So you
really
get to do.
and it's got the stone soup problem.
It definitely has the stone soup problem.
Has anyone turned this into a commercial product? You can buy a pre-made box with this all set on it.
So they try.
They try. Not you do that.
So I can hear go, ooh, ah.
Well, see what I'm saying is the problem here is if that's what's also on the television, you're pissing off the family because you're messing with it, even though you're on the laptop. It's just like
Well, you can do all the web control. You can actually listen to separate music. There's an interface to the music you can listen to on the web also. You can pull the programs down separately. You can do a lot of things. The one of the things you wouldn't want to do, for instance, you wouldn't want to try and burn a DVD while I try to watch a show that's recording to run that. But you know, I can control it either way. I can do it with my wireless keyboard directly to the box, or I can do it with the VLC. So both work. But if well, here, we'll show you what you want to see what it looks like. So I can go in here and say watch recordings, and I can pick something that I know is there. Record, and it will play it, but you won't see it there.
Thank you. Thank you, citizens.
So you can see your VNC control.
I want to show you something really good. You'll like it. If you're like me, you're sick of all this red tape.
No, that's the trade-off. So but you do have all the other features of it. So, as I said, you basically have all the things you can do with Linux and television too. That's essentially what you have. Any other questions? Overwhelmed?
better be over than under.
So starting next month, this club will formally be known as the Peninsula MythTV Users Group. Just kidding. Okay, so that brings us to